All right, so welcome back everybody to our latest episode of The Nest. And we had a very eventful week of sports news. And for today's episode, we will recap the Patriots' 24-10 loss to the Buffalo Bills last night on Thursday Night Football. And we will also preview the upcoming match for the U.S. men's soccer team in the 2022 World Cup against Netherlands after they beat Iran 1-0 in the group stage finale. And joining me for today's episode is Ujan Talukdar and Rohan Venkatesh. How's everyone doing?
Great to be here on the special edition on a Friday night. Except last night's game was pretty atrocious. I got to admit. But we got a lot of time to talk about that. But I'm surprised, man. The U.S. going on to the round of 16. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, and this is a young, dynamic U.S. team. And normally I'd be saying against a team like the Netherlands that this should be a blowout against the U.S. But you never know. This is kind of one of those years. USA tomorrow, man.
Yeah, it's looking forward to the game. Of course, not too happy about how Thursday Night Football went, at least from a Patriots fan's point of view. But we move, and there's plenty to talk about for sure.
Yeah. So before we talk about the U.S. Netherlands match tomorrow, let's recap the Patriots' loss to the Bills.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a win per se. I mean, in fact, when the Patriots got up early, when they took that 7-3 lead, I thought, hey, wait a minute, could I have been wrong about something? Are the tides actually shifting? But then later on, as the game progressed, the Bills showed us who they really are as a team. This is very similar to the team we saw last January and of course the December before that. I mean, Josh Allen, as usual, pretty strong performance. The defense did a pretty good job in containing him. I mean, holding up any kind of Bills team in this day and age to 24 points is a pretty good job by your defense. I think it's really the offense that really has to answer. Mac Jones, he can't really justify putting up 10 points, just a field goal and a touchdown, and that's pretty much your whole offense for the whole game. So I do remember early on, Pat's defense did also kind of struggle to make the Bills punt. So that was kind of an early warning sign. But of course, I always knew it was going to be a difficult game to begin with. And I think if this isn't the nail in the coffin, it's getting pretty close, because I think the rest of the season looks pretty bleak for the Patriots as well. You have the Dolphins coming up as well, who have historically had the Patriots number. So yeah, like, sure, I was right, but I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it either. I think, the fact that it took a receiving catch from Marcus Jones to get the only touchdown of the game actually speaks volume. I feel like it speaks volumes because, of all the other receivers who are there, they don't have, they can't even get in the end zone, and Marcus Jones can on one snap on his first NFL snap, was that? Or something like that. So it was, quite frankly, that was just atrocious. I will say congratulations to Patriots defense on forcing the Bills to punt, but it took you 2.5 games to finally get their punter on the field.
Mock cheer.
Yeah, right. But still, Kansas City held Buffalo to 24 points and they still won. So it's not like Buffalo's offense was world beating, but it kind of felt, I don't want to say it felt worse than the playoff loss, but it's up there for me because you're coming off you still have a chance in the at least for a playoff, coming into the game, right? You're 6-5, even though you're last place in the division. 6-5 is not a shabby record considering the Chargers are still in the hunt. You're one game behind Cincinnati for a playoff spot, right? And the Jets, who you already have the tiebreaker against. So, a win, and it'll certainly help. It wouldn't necessarily be the answer, but I just feel like at this point it's over in terms of playoff hopes.
It would have to take a miracle at some point. At this point, it would take a miracle. But barring that, I think I agree that it is over.
Yeah, I think it's more of an indictment on the coaching staff this season. I think this season, how it's gone, is really reflecting on Bill Belichick and the coaching staff, because I think they've really failed Mac Jones this year. I mean, you moved on from Josh McDaniels, who's obviously having a lot of trouble with Las Vegas as the head coach. But last year, McDaniels was doing a good job with Mac Jones as an offensive coordinator. So now you've moved on from McDaniels and you basically gave it the play calling duties to Matt Patricia, who is a defensive coordinator, first of all. So you're asking someone who was a okay defensive coordinator, kind of questionable, who completely flamed out as the head coach of the Detroit Lions to start calling the plays. And predictably, it's just terrible. Like, I mean, there's just so many issues like on offense. Like, remember that there were how many?
Well, I don't
play
really know how
calls-
predictable it was because a year ago, I think I was saying that, okay, yeah, there might be a coaching change, but it's a new era. Mac Jones, he's a year in right now. Maybe this will be his chance to shine. He's a little bit more seasoned now. And unfortunately, I
yeah,
think
but like,
I
look
think
at
we
who
see
the
the
coaching
opposite.
is. Yeah, but it's like a guy who's unqualified to be your offensive coordinator is calling your plays. That's where it's predictable that it's not going to work, right? Like Patricia is a defensive coordinator by trade. That's what he's done before. So if you're asking someone on the defensive side all of a sudden to start picking up the offense out of the blue, then it's just not going to work in one offseason like that.
Of course, this might work with some more seasoned quarterbacks, but for someone who has barely a year of experience like Mac Jones, I think having a good mentor is key. Josh McDaniels, I mean, while he wasn't perfect, I mean, there were a lot of spots for improvements last year as well. But if I look at it, of course, hindsight's always 2020, right? Had he stayed, would this season have turned out better? Would he have had that extra year of mentorship? Sure, I guess you could say that given how this season has kind of turned out. But at the same time, I mean, Matt Patricia, he did have prior coaching experience. I mean, definitely defensive as opposed to offensive. But I was thinking that having that prior coaching experience, especially with this Patriots organization, might potentially help. I just didn't think that this offensive defensive divide would be this much to really kind of sink Mac Jones this year and pretty much the whole team with it. I think I have to say that I was wrong in underestimating the gravity of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally you give some people the benefit of the doubt. And early on, it looked like at least the offense looked okay. Like against the Ravens, they put up 26 points, though Mac Jones did throw 3 interceptions that day. So, and he got injured at the end. So, I mean, I think early on it's okay to maybe give it a chance. But now that it's not working, now you have to do something this offseason. Maybe Bill O'Brien, like get him from University of Alabama. He at least worked with Belichick and the offense back in the day with Tom Brady. So that's an option. But I think like really like the last drive is really kind of telling. Like when it was like 17 plays, they took 17 plays to move 57 yards. 17 plays to move 57 yards when the Bills defense is basically already sort of like letting the Patriots kind of move that down the field at that point. It took 5:45. They didn't even get a touchdown. They got a field goal attempt. So it's just a really poor showing by the offense. And it's just at this point, like it's also worth noting Marcus
It's
Jones.
also like more of the same, not getting to the red zone and not being able to finish it off.
Yeah, I mean that's bad. That's the 31st ranked red zone offense, just ahead of the Denver Broncos, who are another disaster. So essentially, you're just one spot ahead of one of like the biggest disappointments of 2022, the Broncos. But it's just also like it's just worth noting in 2 of the 3 games, the last 3 games for the Patriots, Marcus Jones, who's a cornerback, as we mentioned, he's not a wide receiver. He has scored the only touchdown for the Patriots in 2 of the last 3 games. Against the Jets, he scored the only touchdown, which was the punt return. And against the Bills, he scored the only touchdown on that 48-yard touchdown. So let us sink in. A special teamer at this point, your cornerback on the secondary is your offense for 2 of the last 3 games. That is how bad it is at this point. So I do think at this point, the season is a wrap. I don't think this team maybe at best can go 9-8, but this is a disaster. And Belichick, I don't think he should be fired yet, but I do think Robert Kraft better tell him that he's no longer just going to have autonomous GM duties because he has failed at this point for this season. This season is going to be an F at this point, especially if they miss the playoffs, which it looks like it. Well, it's just very disappointing altogether. It's just a very like disappointing showing against this team. Like it's one thing, like how did the Detroit Lions score 25 against the Bills, but you can't even score like more than 10 against this team. Just very disappointing.
100% agree. You know, I mean, this is also coming off Mac Jones's career high game and passing yards against Minnesota, 382 yards. I mean, I guess the one positive you can take, like at least like since the bye week, it was like, you're not turning the ball over. I mean, that being said, Mac Jones almost threw an needless interception, which got called back after an expedited review. So, I mean, of course, that doesn't count as a turnover. But at the same time, the Patriots did get a takeaway. Josh Uche is definitely a bright spot on the defense. I will give that, forcing the fumble on Josh Allen. But the thing with that is you don't get anything off the turnover. You're down 10 points. And just like last week against Minnesota, the clock management at the end of the half just was abysmal. Let me put it that way. I mean, of course, yes, you get a field goal. Like, it seemed as though they were trying to just kick a field goal the entire time. And it was just unfortunate that the Nick Folks kick hit the crossbar. But I mean, even then, if you make it 17-10, will that really make a difference in the grand scheme of things? To me, probably not.
But even little things like that, just little things like clock management, things that are separate from, I don't know, just playing the game, right? These are strategic decisions. I mean, that used to be, I remember when the Pats were known as being like the most disciplined team in the NFL. And especially given that, it seems really uncharacteristic of this kind of team led by a guy like Belichick. It seems to me that once he started to see that some of the pieces were falling out on this team, he's pretty much just kind of lost his way. Not just in terms of, I mean, being able to coach for quality in terms of like performance on the field, but I mean, little things like as you mentioned, clock management or tiny strategic decisions where discipline or lack thereof can end up being the difference. It's very un-Belichick like. I don't know what's gotten into him. But it's got to be addressed quickly. On one hand, I'm kind of in the camp of look elsewhere, look for other options. The Patriots can do better. I mean, in some sense, we've already gone from one era to another in the sense that we definitely passed the Brady era. That era has come and gone. And that was a dynamic duo, Brady Belichick. And Belichick wasn't necessarily bad in the post-Brady era, but we definitely have to look in this new regime. Are there better coaching options? That's not to say that that's not to say that I'm like calling for Belichick's head or anything like that. But at the same time, we need to know that this is the best coach that we can have in this moment. And at this moment, I would question that.
Yeah, I think it's fair at this point. Like, I've been kind of defending Belichick for a while, and I still think he's a great coach. But at this point, like, I mean, another thing, just Ujan, just talking about the time management. Remember that on that punt by Michael Pilardi, they actually had a delay of game, and they actually had the punt unit out. But for like 10 seconds, they did nothing. Like, I was just like, honestly, just like kind of stunned all of a sudden. I just noticed the clock was going down, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? Are they just about to take a penalty? Like, it just seemed like so like nonchalant. And I was just stunned by that. Like, I was honestly like, wait, they're about to actually take a penalty. I didn't even realize. Like, I just thought it was like a strategic thing.
Yeah, but the other thing was, right, it's not like you're already in your own territory. It's not like you're backing up 5 yards to get like, a better chance of pinning Buffalo deep. It's not that. You're effectively giving them better field position just by backing up 5 yards. The punt will go 5 yards less, right? So that one just baffled me as much as it baffled you and probably other folks too. But I think one thing I wanted to bring up was what do we think about Mac Jones's viral video that came out? He was clearly frustrated, let's be honest. But I think but you don't really, and it's something that you don't really see from from anybody on the Patriots, like when things are going bad. But going back to what I said earlier, it wasn't bad as like the last wildcard game, but it felt like the Patriots just got obliterated, even though the scoreline doesn't really suggest that. So it's
I personally think that, look, the internal politics may be different, but my speculation is that Mac Jones probably sees that Belichick is vulnerable, so he's more free to speak his mind. And I think he's gotten the feeling that management may not necessarily always throw him under a bus. Whereas I think previously that probably would have been the case, because anything that, especially a rookie player, would have said a year ago, that immediately would have been squashed by not just the coaches, but the upper management as well. I think that perfect alignment is now shaken, and now I think that some players are finding an opportunity to speak out, especially when they feel that things aren't going the way that they should be going.
Yeah, I mean, on that Ujam, like I think since it was directed at Patricia, who I am really just sort of puzzled by why he was given the duties. And I think Mac Jones was just frustrated because there were several 3rd and 10s or 3rd and longs where Mac Jones just threw a 7-yard pass. So it was well short of the first down already. So at that point, you really wonder, like, what type of play call are you going for? Like, he's throwing to Jacoby Myers for like 7 yards, and Jacoby Myers is already covered by like potentially one person. So at best, Myers catches it and he's still 2 yards short. So I think Mac Jones was just very frustrated by it, and I can't blame him at this point. Like, I just think overall the whole coaching, especially on offense, has been a disaster. I think defensively, I agree. I think defensively it was a solid performance. Not good, but at least they got the job done. 24 points, I'll take that. But it's just very frustrating, and like I think overall, like it shows that I think they got to move on from Matt Patricia this offseason. Maybe if you don't fire him, maybe you just reassign him to be a consultant wherever he was last year. We'll just have him do that if you can't fire him, but he can't be calling the plays on offense at this point. He's not qualified for that. And clearly at this point, it's obvious. Like Kendrick Bourne has publicly spoken out. He did it again yesterday. He basically was like criticizing the offense, and Jacoby Myers is criticizing the offense. If your offensive players are criticizing the scheme, like it's not going to last. So Belichick needs to do something. I mean, I think it's too late to do anything this year, but this offseason, that better be his number one priority. Otherwise, I think maybe it is time for the Crafts to step in and have more of a say. I think they've let Belichick do a lot, and he's done a lot of good, but recently it's just not looking good at all. Like, do you remember that graphic by Amazon? It was like Tom Brady has thrown like 85 touchdown passes since he left the Patriots.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Cam Newton,
ridiculous.
Bailey Zappi, Brian Hoyer, Mac Jones combined.
It's been a revolving
like
door ever
47
since.
touchdowns
Of course,
or something like
I mean,
that.
the day was always going to come when Brady would no longer be playing with the Patriots. So it's not like that's shocking, right? Of course, he went on to Tampa, won a Super Bowl there, but now even he's struggling. Yeah, he's taking great care of himself, but age eventually catches up to everyone. So I really don't think that the Patriots had a proper succession plan for what happens after Brady, because that whole core, that entire team was built upon that duo, Brady Belichick. And you find a good passing partner. Okay, sometimes it was Randy Moss or like earlier on, and then later on it was Gronk. And so like, yeah, you had those mini eras within the larger Brady Belichick era. But to really make sure that this team is poised for long-term success, they needed a succession plan, and that just didn't come. I would even say to this day that letting go of Jimmy G was probably not the best decision way back. But of course, this is like way back though. Of course, a lot has changed since then. Since he went to the Niners, and a lot has happened over there. But I feel like that was probably a pivotal turning point. If the Patriots decide to hold on to him and really like primed him to be Tom Brady's successor, I feel like the whole trajectory of this team would have been very different.
So I'll just make one note there, and then we should probably transition to the US-Netherlands game. But I do think like the reason Belichick was kind of forced to trade Jimmy G was because Jimmy G was at his time in his 4th year of his contract, the rookie contract. So at that point, he was going to be a free agent. And Tom Brady in 2017 like took the Patriots to a Super Bowl that year. They lost to Philadelphia, and then he went to another one the next year without Jimmy G, and they won it against the Rams. So I think overall, like I don't think Jimmy G would have really wanted to stay in New England and make basically like at that point it was like what, like 20-25 million dollars for a backup at that point. I think it wouldn't have made sense. So I think that's why they had to trade Jimmy G.
In the short term, it wouldn't have made sense, but sometimes you got to think you got to play the long game.
Maybe I still think they made the right decision to move on from Jimmy G because at the time it was really more Jimmy G or Brady. And I also don't think they knew, like if they knew in hindsight that Brady would leave after 2019, maybe they probably play it differently. But I don't think they actually ever expected Brady to leave, which is kind of on them. So I do agree, like you can kind of blame them for how they sort of ended the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's just a disaster at this point. And this team just it's really disappointing. Like there's nothing else to really say, right? Like last year, 10-7, they were a fun team to watch last year, right? They weren't a great team, but it was entertaining. Like remember that win against Buffalo last year? Like the wind.
10-7 still possible this year. It's still theoretically possible.
It's also possible for the US men's team to win the World Cup, right? So
I actually think that's slightly better than theoretically possible.
But anyways, yeah,
I'll get into that in more detail.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, yeah. Does anyone else want to talk about the Patriots? Did we let out all our frustrations? Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about a happier topic. Hopefully. The US men's team.
The other kind of football.
Yes. Yep. So the US men's team is on to the round of 16, playing Netherlands tomorrow. Very early start for me, 7 a.m. But I'll watch it. But yeah, so let's just talk about this. Ujan, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. Obviously, Cody Gakpo is a terrific player, one of the best players. Like he's scored in every game so far. So are you most worried about him, or do you actually think the US, like how do you think the US has to contain him to avoid him from like scoring once or twice?
I think the first thing has to be I would say man marking him because the Netherlands, right, they have been playing with a back four. And I think it feels like it's either the same formation that the US play, a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3.
The US played a 4-3-3 against Iran. I don't know if they're going to stick with the same formation for tomorrow's match, though.
Hold on. But I just think that, if you don't allow Gakpo to drive, and remember, the US has not allowed a goal in open play. The one goal they allowed was a Gareth Bale penalty. After that, a 0-0 against England. And the 1-0 win against Iran, Christian Pulisic with the goal. And he's been cleared to play after the collision with Alireza Beranvan. So I think the one issue I had with that game against Iran was they went very defensive very early, well, to me very early. And it just felt like they were just holding on for dear life.
Yeah, those final moments were so tense.
And
I remember in stoppage time that Iran had a really good opportunity. The ball went just wide of the net.
Yeah, they did. And they had a penalty shout too. But the thing is, right, it's one thing for the US to get the ball out of the area, which they did. The defense, great job. But the problem is, Haji Wright, Josh Sargent, they did not hold the ball up. They pretty much gave the ball right back to Iran, and another wave of another long ball came in, right? Matt Turner, great in commanding the box. There's a reason why Arsenal wanted him from New England at the start of the season. But Walker Zimmerman, good game. Cameron Carter-Vickers, that was a surprise. Good game as well. He's a good ball playing center back. And, against a team like Iran who was setting up defensive. Remember, Iran only needed a draw to get through. So, they just really didn't need to, the only reason
they could have just parked the bus.
They exactly could have. And having a ball playing center back like Cameron Carter-Vickers made sense at the time. But, for those who don't follow US soccer, like some folks might have just questioned that instead of, oh, why not Walker Zimmerman? Walker Zimmerman's a great defender, but he's not gonna start the offense like from when you're playing out from the back. I thought Tyler Adams was immense. He's Captain America for a reason. Christian Pulisic, like I said, coming up with the big goal.
How about Tim Weah?
Tim Weah, he had the disallowed goal at the end of the first half, but
And the goal against Wales.
yeah, but that was also good. I think this was a different. I felt like he was okay. Like it wasn't great from him, but even against Wales, I felt like it was okay. I mean, yes, he got the goal. I mean, the two were very similar. Like a good finish. But of course, one was offside, one wasn't. But after that, like he tried, but there wasn't really much end product. We'll put it that way. I do see that. I actually think for the Netherlands US game, it's going to be a battle of the midfield. So like whoever can like control the three of the US with will likely be Yunus Musa, Tyler Adams, and Weston McKennie against what is it? Cody Gakpo, Koop Miners for the Netherlands. And that's whoever gets the possession battle, I think that the game will favor them. And I see this as a very tightly contested game. While the US are promising on offense, the Netherlands are very good in defense, led by Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk, the captain of the Netherlands. And I will say that Andries Noppert, their goalkeeper, he's actually been a pleasant surprise this tournament. He has not made an international appearance for the Netherlands prior to the World Cup. His international debut was the Netherlands' opening game of the tournament against Senegal, and kept a clean sheet there. So, and he's a big goalkeeper. He's 6'8", so he's not going to be an easy man to beat. So I see this. Like I said, I think it just comes down to the midfield of this game.
So
I
also
think more than just two teams. I think this is a clash of two fundamentally different playing styles, right? With the US team, it's mostly young players. They have a lot of energy, right? They get the ball and they immediately want to press forward. They get the ball and then they play the long ball. They lob it into the offensive areas and then they chase it. And then their entire attacking structure is pretty much built on that. Whereas for the Dutch, it's kind of different in the sense that they kind of build their attacks a little bit more methodically, right? They have a bunch of wingers and then they keep moving around. They keep passing the ball around. It kind of reminds me of that tiki-taka style of Spanish football that kind of peaked around like 10-ish years ago. The kind of style that won them the Euros in 2008, the World Cup in 2010, and then again the Euros again in 2012. I would say for the US team, the biggest vulnerability would be kind of being caught out, right? In the sense that when you have a bunch of different wingers constantly shifting positions, if you're not man marking them, as Ujan mentioned earlier, the key to defending against this team is to man mark their stars like Gapko, for example. But I would say that either man marking them or having a bunch of players in the defensive zone, so that even if the Dutch players can get the ball and keep passing it around, they'll have to keep passing it around in a non-dangerous area. And then when they finally get to the offensive zone, bam, the defense is there to stop them in their tracks. On the flip side, I would say that for the US, the opportunities they'll probably have to be on the counterattack, right? Because once if you're a team like the Netherlands where you're playing a little bit more methodically, a little bit more tactically, there is always the chance that a quick shift in the game, a quick shift in play can catch you off your guard. And I think those are the moments that the Americans are going to have to take advantage of.
I will say though that while you are right that the Netherlands can sustain possession for a while, they can't do it for the 90 minutes. I mean, they tried to do it against Ecuador and they allowed a goal early in the second half. I think though they were able to do it. They had success doing it against Qatar, but Qatar were already eliminated, right? So are you really going to read into that one a lot? I would probably say the answer to that one is no. So I just think that I think the Ecuador game is like a prime example. I think the US should look into tape from that game, because you can't really afford to lose that. I would say even parts of the Senegal game, most of the Senegal game too, because it took the Netherlands until the 84th minute to get the breakthrough goal. And I will also say that the Netherlands and US both have similar styles in the sense that they like to get the fullbacks forward. For the Netherlands, it's Daley Blind and Denzel Dumfries. And for the US, it's Anthony Robinson on the left and Serginho Dest on the right. So I think while it is a bit different, there are similarities. And, it'll take a whole team effort, just like the group stage finale against Iran, to number one, keep a clean sheet. And number two, I honestly see this as a potential smash and grab game, to be honest. Grab a goal. It probably will go. I actually see this going to extra time, but we'll get to that when we get there. So, but I think this is going to be a great opening game for the knockout stage.
Yeah, I would have to say I think it's do we still are we gonna get to predictions or not yet?
In just a bit. There's one bit of news that's recently come out. I don't know if you guys have been following this, but apparently Netherlands has a flu outbreak right now. Several members of the team, like Martin, De Roon, several like prominent members, they actually are currently dealing with the flu potentially, and that would be huge for the US. Unfortunately, we do wish them the best. Like obviously we hope them good health and everything like that, especially what's gone on in the world the last 2 years.
If it gets bad enough, they would have to reschedule the match, right? If it
Well, I
gets
don't
bad
know.
enough.
I don't think so. No. But like, anyways, like they are battling a flu outbreak, and I mean, yeah, Frankie De Jong and Martin de Roon, two of the prominent players for Netherlands, are both currently dealing with some symptoms. So that would be pretty concerning if both of them are not at full strength. And the U.S. overall has done a pretty solid job. Like I would say, England had a better offensive attack than Netherlands, right? But at the end of the day, the U.S. still held them scoreless. They've only allowed one goal, as John mentioned on.
And that's the thing. This American defense has been solid, absolutely solid, and they've proven themselves against good teams. So in that sense, in that sense, I'm not worried that somehow this is going to be this like some embarrassment where the U.S. team is just going to get shellacked. I don't think that's. I think we could be pretty safe to say that that's not going to happen. But it's going to be tough out there. It's going to be pretty tough because goals come at a premium, and especially for this U.S. team, they have kind of struggled to mount any kind of offense, and especially when you're dealing with defenders on the Dutch side like Virgil van Dijk, their captain, one of my favorite players as a Liverpool fan, and watching him play. It's going to be a tough task for the U.S. team to really get their players forward and really grab those chances. Like I mentioned before, it would have to be on some kind of counterattacking scenario. But if we are going to get to predictions,
yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, okay.
I think I would have to say that it's going to be the battle of the defenses. I think that in regulation time, I think I would have to say that the Dutch are probably going to dominate possession. The U.S. are probably going to have they might have the slightly better of the chances, but they're going to come very infrequently. And I think that, I don't think any of them are really going to manifest themselves or really come to fruition in regulation. I think for us to really see any kind of breakthrough, it would have to come in extra time. I'm going to go with 1-1 in extra time, 0-0 after regulation, 1-1 after extra time, and U.S. on penalties. I think our defense I think Matt Turner is an excellent goalie. Dutch have a great goalie as well, but I think in the goalkeeping department, we got the slight edge over there. And I think when it comes down to penalties, I think that's going to be our edge.
I will say that while I do agree that it'll be a draw after 90 minutes, I don't see it going into penalties. I think there will be a winner in a game winner in extra time. There is one thing I will note, having watched some of the games, like at least in this past week, the temperature in Qatar, there was a concern for me going into the tournament. How warm will it be? I mean, of course, now we're in December, but I think one of the graphics that I saw, like during one of the games, it was like 70 degrees at 10 o'clock at night with a humidity of 80%, and you just don't really see that, like, for any place at 10 o'clock at night. So and remember, the Netherlands US game is going to be a 6 p.m. local, which is and the US have been playing at least played all their group games at 10 p.m. local. So I just feel like there will be a temperature difference, like between, now that you're playing 4 hours earlier, right? So while I do believe that, like I said, this game will go in extra time, I think it'll be a 0-0 after 90, but I see a US goal in extra time. The Netherlands have not been, the best when it comes to defending. And remember, this is Anders Nopert's like first knockout game. Like this is gonna be his fourth cap. And with all the experience of Virgil van Dijk and Nathan Ake, like two Premier League defenders, as well as Daley Blind from the 2014 World Cup and Denzel Dumfries, who's been up and coming since 2018. This Dutch team is fairly young. I mean, you can say the same thing about the US, but Tim Ream is in his 30s. And when it comes to World Cup experience, like this is practically a level playing field. So, and remember, the Dutch missed the World Cup in 2018. They didn't even qualify. I mean, while they do have the coach who has World Cup,
so did the US.
Van Gaal. Exactly. So, but the thing is, the Dutch have a World Cup experience on their bench with Louis van Gaal, who coached the team to the third place actually in 2014 in Brazil. But I just don't think the Dutch are able to cope with like the pace of the United States attack for 90 minutes.
Also, that was a very different team. I mean, in 2014, that team had Arjen Robben. It had Robin van Persie. Like that was just a very, very different team. Not that the current Netherlands team isn't strong, but it's just not the same kind of juggernaut that it once was.
No, it's not. But that being said, in 2014, the US isn't the same team, is it? So, I just think that we're gonna see a goal, and I think it'll be a surprise score. I think it'll be Weston McKennie who gets the winning goal. I mean, remember he had two great chances against England, which he completely skied. One in the first half, one in the second half. I just don't know what to expect from Christian Pulisic and whether he'll. I mean, he's like I said, he's been cleared to play, but is he going to come off the bench? Is he going to start? He might be hooked in like the 60-some minute. You just don't really know. So 1-0 USA, Weston McKennie with a goal in extra time.
Okay. So unfortunately, I don't share as much optimism as you guys. So I do like the US team. Like they've been very impressive, but I am a little bit concerned by the lack of offense. It's just been 2 goals in 3 games. Netherlands, meanwhile, has scored 2 in each of their games. So at least Netherlands has a consistent flow, which I've seen more than the US at this point. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Netherlands 2, US 0 regulation. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just feeling like I would love to be wrong, and I would love if it goes to overtime at 0-0, then I definitely think the US has honestly already gained a huge advantage because Netherlands should have wrapped it up in regulation. And if it goes to penalties, then I think the US pretty much would win that then. So I do think like the flow of the game, it's going to be kind of like England, except this time it's going to go to stoppage. So like, I mean, I would say like if the US can hold Netherlands to extra and get Netherlands more frustrated, they're more likely to make mistakes. So that's my prediction, but hope I'm wrong. I just wanted to also mention one thing, Ujan or Rohan, whoever like knows more about this area. Gio Reyna, there's been some kind of like speculation about why he hasn't really been playing. Is there like any reason like he's so far kind of not been playing as much? Because I mean, he's a pretty good player, but is it because Berhalter isn't very happy with him, or what do you think is going on?
I'm not 100% sure about this one. I think a lot of the United States media have been calling for Giovanni Reyna to start. He did come off the bench against England. I don't really think he had a major impact in that cameo. He wasn't really needed against Iran because it was more of like defend, and I just think that the chemistry with the front three of Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, and what was it? I'm blanking on the third one for whatever reason at this point in time. But I just think that the chemistry is, it's strong. Opening goal against Wales, you saw what happened, right? Oh, actually, the third one is Josh Sargent. So there you go. So I just feel like the link up play amongst those three is pretty strong, and I just don't. I mean, Greg Berhalter must be seeing that it's not the same with Giovanni Reina. I mean, that has to be my guess. Of course, Greg probably. I mean, we're not in Qatar and we're not seeing the U.S. Team practice, so I can't really say much else other than speculate that. So I'm not aware of any injury. So I have to. It makes me wonder, whether he's match fit or something else is happening. When it comes to, I mean, I'm sure he's training hard, but it's just you always have like a group of guys who you're like in hockey, like where you have like all those you have your line mates and you guys have like I would say you have better chemistry. I don't think it's the same with Giovanni Reina.
Okay, yeah. We'll see tomorrow. So hopefully I'm wrong and Ujan and Rohan are right. And we're on to the round of 8. I'm just curious, if the US were to advance, who would they be playing in a potential round of 8? Like, who are the potential opponents?
Either Argentina or Australia.
Okay, so go Australia then. To play the US, of course. Yeah, I mean, I would much rather, I'm sure anyone would rather face Australia than Lionel Messi.
Although
Well,
Saudi Arabia was able to beat Argentina, so
I was about
to
say.
True, but like, I mean, I guess in terms of like spectator viewership, you'd prefer to see Messi versus like who is on Argentina? I'm sorry, on Australia now. Is Tim Cahill? Is he still there?
No, he retired. It's it would be Matthew Leckie and Mitchell Duke has been he scored the goal against I believe it was Tunisia to and they have Australia has been one of the many surprises in this tournament. I mean,
I don't know. I'm just curious. I don't know if anyone has the historical data here, but no team was perfect in the group stages. None of them. Has that ever happened at the World Cup where none of the teams have been perfect? Even Brazil lost their final game. France lost their final game in the group
By
stages.
perfect, you mean like not even tie, right? Like
yeah. 3 wins, 9 points. Yeah.
Well, what
No
about
team
Italy
did
in
that.
2006? It happened in 2006 when Italy tied the US right in the group stage.
No. I meant like winning all 3 games in the group stage.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know if that, like, I don't know if that this kind of situation has happened at previous World Cups, but fact check me on that because I don't know. But something seems like there's a drastic push towards more parity now, and now the smaller teams are able to compete with the big guys now. You saw with Tunisia defeating France.
yeah, but France and Brazil were playing their backups. Like they weren't really. I mean,
Yeah.
qualified. So like I don't really know how much you can read into those.
Yeah, I guess nothing really beats the Argentina Saudi upset though.
Yeah, because everyone was trying at that time. But yeah, okay. So let's see. Tomorrow, very exciting set of games. And yeah, if regardless, we will be back Sunday to recap the US game against Freudian slip, maybe. I said US Argentina, so maybe preview, but we'll be back Sunday to recap the US Netherlands match and hopefully preview the matchup against Australia or Argentina. Fingers crossed, right, for all of us. But yeah, until then, enjoy the match.
No matter who you're cheering for, you can enjoy the match over some apple pie because both countries claim that dish.
The Dutch treat. There you go. I've been wanting to say that for a while. So, but anyways, yeah, enjoy the rest of your, I guess, nighttime, everyone, and we'll see you Sunday.
All right. Peace.